Hello, Internet. Hello, Facebook. Hello, anywhere else this video may appear. My name is Sammy Hewer from Inclusion 2, which is affiliated with Inclusion Festival. We're here today to talk with someone who was there last year and can tell us a bit about experience. But before we get there, Millie, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
My name is Millie Wingler, and I've been teaching in the public and private sector for over 20 years. Um, I'm certified in special education, early childhood education, elementary education, and then most recently, I received my learning disability teacher consultant license. So I work with children who have special needs in the public school setting right now.
Very, very, very cool. What drove you to be inspired to work with such a population?
I think it was early on, one of my um, practicum experiences as a student teacher was at a school called St. John of God in South Jersey. And the population there had, you know, various needs, and just the experience of working with physical therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, and special education teachers, I decided to go on and get my special ed certification while I was in school.
Very, very, very cool. It often seems the way it goes. You just have an experience and then it changes the course of your whole life.
Right, exactly.
So what can you tell us about HugaTree yoga?
Okay, so um, along my journey of teaching, um, I also owned my own childcare center for children who were 3 years of age through school age summer camp. And one of the things that we found, and this was, over 20 years ago, I started that in 1990, that the yoga really helped for students who were in childcare for long hours during the day to help them stretch, breathe, grow. Um, so I was dabbling at that time. And again, also practicing on my own, learning from other teachers. But yoga in schools really wasn't there. Um, and owning my own center um, gave me a little bit more flexibility to offer it after nap time, offer it if you saw the kids were, just stuck inside too long on a rainy day. But just the difference that it could make with a group of, 3 to 7 year olds, it's pretty amazing.
Very, very cool. So how could your yoga practice help for parents who have no idea what yoga really is? They just look at it as this new agey thing. How can it benefit a child with special needs?
Well, just taking that time to connect with oneself, um, knowing that breath and movement working together, that's the full meaning of yoga. Um, but also helping the students with learning some restorative practice moves, as well as helping the parents who would need some restorative practice to go to as well. So, what I've seen, not only in the classroom, but, after school or mom and me sessions, just that connecting with your breath and your movement, um, and the ability to help a child regulate their emotions, knowing that when they're upset and cortisol levels are high, and you know things are out of their control, that being able to learn to control breath and associate it with movement, it just works wonders. um, my public school, I will give them a shout out, Union Township School in New Jersey. They have recently, with the help of myself and our principal, Rhonda Pavoris, and our child study team, we have actually incorporated yoga and movement into the school day. Um, there's a company called Sensational Kids that has a great program. I'm trained by them, as well as grounded yoga. And we kind of infused yoga and the zones of regulation to create our own Zen zones, is what we call it. But definitely, we've seen differences in classrooms um, and with children who have various needs. So it's been a really great year.
Oh, very cool. So, what would you tell yoga teachers that are looking to do what you do, like go into schools and teach kids yoga? Like, what's that process like? What would you do and what wouldn't you do? What have you learned?
Let's see. Well, um, you know, primarily when I owned my own center, I was able to practice there. In the public school, I started um, with after school yoga clubs. Um, from there, just getting the buy-in, so to speak, or, someone to kind of trial it in the
Hmm.
schools, I think is huge. But overall, I think, there's so many people out there right now who are recognizing the benefits. So there's so many people to learn from. The business aspect, because, that tends to be hard for um, some people, to earn a living doing what you love. Um, but recognizing that there is a need, um, and that, that need um, also is giving of your time and your energy. So, um, not to be afraid of doing something you love as a business. I think that, for teachers, you show up and, you do what you love, and, it's a blessing to get paid for it. So, um, I think that took a little bit of a shift. And
Hmm.
recognizing too that then you're able to give back on the other side. So I think that might have been a challenging place for me, but it's definitely been a journey. And like I said, I've been dabbling, for over 30 years. And um, Leah, uh, who is one of the founders, along with Amy Pinder. Um, Leah and I were in yoga class together, and she also taught special children with special needs as I did. We had a lot in common, and we had a common yoga teacher who just kind of encouraged us. And it's amazing to see how we're connected in some ways still. And
Hmm.
Inclusion Fest brings a lot of like-minded people together. So
Hmm.
um, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
That's definitely beautiful. Good way to put it. Um, so, what is the connection between nature and yoga?
Nature and yoga. I think it's a natural fit. And I will say that some of the best experiences I've had with children and yoga have been outside, where you can really find that quiet space, listen to the birds. It leads to, a meditative experience. Um, I do think that HugaTree definitely came from, me practicing tree pose, holding on to a tree, and seeing these little kids who wobble back and forth and don't have their balance, kind of holding on to that tree, anchoring them. I talk a lot about the roots, your root chakra being grounded. And the more you're grounded, the stronger your trunk is. And the stronger your trunk is, the greater ability you have to reach and breathe and stretch. So the analogy, I think, is definitely there. Um, Not to mention, the art of forest bathing. That's interesting right now. Walking out into the woods, they're finding the connection between the brain, and even diseases, being able to heal um, when you're in nature. So I think the connection is pretty natural. But for
Hmm.
me, HugaTree definitely came from that, needing to hold on to something, needing to feel grounded. Um, and I will say, I've had a lot of friends, and I just want to say another thing. Even the little logo, a friend of mine, Hillary Lewis, who's a graphic artist, she's been helpful. And we just, so many of us all, find our strengths taking walks outside and talking and walking and breathing and stretching. So it's all connected.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I definitely what I like about the nature being someone on the spectrum myself is it's a visual. So if you were to talk about yoga to me without the visual, it would be much harder to grasp. So definitely see the value in bringing nature into um, your yoga practice. Another question: how does yoga help restore and maintain balance in a special needs child?
Okay. Um, well, again, we can look at balance two ways, like the emotional balance. So that ability to um, recognize feelings that, you're able to feel something and then release it through yoga, whether you're feeling um, stress or excitement or sadness or um, any of that, there is a pose and a breath that can be connected to those things.
Hmm.
Um, so I think balancing that way is important to know and learn about. The other way is just, by nature of the poses, you're strengthening your core. You're becoming stronger and, more grounded. So physically as well, um, you're being, uh, you know, just strengthened.
Awesome. I also saw that your yoga practice helps kids learn with focus, self-esteem, and self-control. Can you go into how your yoga practice helps children focus, have better self-esteem, and self-control?
Okay. Um, I've actually worked with a lot of students who have been diagnosed with ADD and do have that trouble focusing in the classroom. We have taught breath and taking a moment, mindful moments. And I have seen a true difference. I've had students say, oh, I have to calm myself, I have to breathe, or can you put that beautiful music on so I can relax? So they start internalizing how they
Hmm.
can quiet their own their own bodies. I think that's been very interesting to see. And even, you know, I do work with very young children,
Hmm.
3 to 7. Um, if you see a little 3-year-old, lying in relaxation, and, you spray a little lavender on her feet, and you can just see her whole being just relax. And learning to do that, I think, is so valuable. Um, and hearing from families too that their children go up, they say they need a minute, and they'll find them on their yoga mat. So um, yeah, I think teaching those skills at a young age and making the terminology more of the norm,
Yeah.
regulating my emotions. Um,
Hmm.
you know, I think it's a great skill for little ones to have.
Yeah, it definitely helps with focus and self-control of the emotions. But how does it help with self-esteem exactly?
Okay, well, self-esteem, for little ones who have difficulty focusing in the classroom
Hmm.
or staying centered or grounded, or even being able to complete their schoolwork. Um, there's a lot of issues that surround self-esteem when you're looking at your neighbor next to you who's able to finish, their
Hmm.
task, and you're still just organizing your space. Um, I think um, with teachers, especially knowing that we're all um, different learners, we all learn differently. With teachers sharing that, and then even seeing through your yoga practice that, you know, everybody's at a different level. I think the more we know about how we all learn differently, that definitely taps into self esteem. But the greater focus in the classroom, I think, really helps children to notice, oh, wow, look what I just did. I finished something I started. So um, that I've seen.
Oh, your audio cut out there. I can't hear you. Um,
Working in the classroom and watching those students, some who have difficulty finishing their work, but may not be able to hold their focus, but yet are starting to hold better focus in their yoga pose. They're gaining strengths in other areas. They're able to share different pieces of themselves through their practice. I think that's a way that self-esteem does rise as well.
I can definitely see that. Now, you mentioned this festival called Inclusion Fest. Can you tell us about your experience there last year?
Sure. Inclusion Fest was wonderful. Um, we arrived on the Thursday before the big days to set up our tent. Myself and a few of my friends um, had a tent together where we had some products available, and we also had the amazing, opportunity to have two sessions where we taught um, lessons to children or to adults. Um, One of my friends was Darcy Alexis, and she was there talking about cognitive behavioral therapy. Another friend who was there, Brenda Greenfield, she is a textile artist. So she had a lot of soothing sensory pieces as well. And then my sister, she does dabble in essential oils. So she was there, and we had a great time in our tent, and then a fabulous time listening to the music. Um, an old high school friend who I hadn't seen in years, Walt Bibbinger, happened to be playing. That was, kind of a fun thing too to come out of it. But I will say, for me, um, I had what I called 10-minute events at the tent, and parents and children would show up, and I would do a little 10-minute yoga stretch, and they had fun with that. Um, I also had some sensory items, um, like different balls to throw to each other, um, sand trays that they could relax and draw in the sand. Um, and then I had a story time too, where we read a lot of books about the trees. Um, so yeah, it was really a fabulous weekend. The food was great. Um,
It was pretty good.
yeah, the venue was beautiful. Just being there in the mountains, getting up and dancing a little bit. So it was definitely a wonderful weekend.
Hmm. Thank you so much. And I like to end all my Inclusion Tube interviews with the following question: what does inclusion mean to you?
Inclusion means to me, um, as I said before, we are all different, different learners, yet we are all connected. And, just some of the moments at Inclusion Fest where children, parents, yoga teachers, musicians came together in a circle and pushed their hands against each other and gave that great energy to each other.
Hmm.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you so much. Now, Millie, how can people get in touch with you and HugaTree Yoga?
Okay, right now I am on Facebook, um, HugaTree Yoga, and also Millie Wingler at gmail.com right now is probably the best way. Um, as said, I do a lot of my work through my school, the local gym, local nursery schools. Um, I'm just starting to branch out, if I could use the analogy again, but I really, look forward to hearing from some parents. I have some great resources available, and you know, I'd love to hear from people.
Thank you, Millie, so much. So this is Millie from HugaTree Yoga, and this is where we'll be leaving you. Thank you, everyone.